guys, this is Martin Perdomo, the Elite Strategist, and you're listening to and or watching to Latinos in Real Estate Investing podcast. And today I have a real special guest, and that's Mr. Humberto Lopes. He's in the field of construction, real estate, and development for over 40 years, man. And I mean, 40 years of doing this business. There is a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge. He's probably been through, not probably, he's been through some ups and downs, and he's seen some differences and the good times, the bad times. He's seen money flow, the money system tightening, and he's probably seen it all in 40 years. That's a very long time to be in the business. Today, he's one of the largest property owners and developers in Brooklyn, New York, right? To the big city of New York and the surrounding neighborhoods. He's helped develop Red Hook Initiative and was a leader in bringing in the independent school bases to the neighborhood. Not only does he own the land and the school is built on, but he's made sure he gave back to the community, that he tirelessly fights to make better, to giving to local students a full ride tuition every year. And that's just part of his story. And of what he's doing and who he is and what he does. And I'm gonna just introduce you, sir. First of all, thank you very much for being here. Thank you for taking your time. A developer such as yourself, I know you're busy and I know you got a lot of things on your plate. And for taking this time to share your wisdom, share your knowledge with the audience, we are really grateful for that. And go ahead and tell us a little bit tell us a little bit about yourself, right, Humberto? I know that you are originally, your mom is originally from Puerto Rico. Your dad is originally from Portuguese. Tell us, how does a young man, right, get into real estate? And tell us a little bit about your story. How did this all begin? How did you become a developer?
And it's also a pleasure, and thank you to inviting me also into your show here. It's a very pleasure, because I think that I have so much to give back to the Latinos that I want to start this in this way. My journey is going back when I was 9 years old and younger. When I was 5 years old, I had a vision of certain things, but also my father passed away when I was 9 years old. So at a young age, and there was 7 of us, I have 7 brothers and sisters, and my father passing away, I would be with him when I was 5, 6 years old. When I can remember, he would do some handyman work, but he was also a longshoreman, and he worked for the Longshoremen Association, the piers, unloading containers. And at that time it was unloading merchandise by hand and by picking it up and putting it on skids. So when he passed away at 9 years old, I basically became a man. I started working in a grocery store in the neighborhood, and him doing handyman work gave me so much of an interest also. My first thing that I started seeing was that, how can I make my father proud of me? As I was going along, it was devastating for me when my father passed away. So I didn't take that as a negative. I took it as to say, how do I make him proud of me? How do I continue? So there was the blessing of the Lord that they sent a friend of mine, a friend of my family. He had a little construction company, so he would be doing the renovations and stuff. So he would pick me up. He would get me in the weekends, wake me up. I would have to get up. I'm a young kid, what I mean? I would go with him. I would help him. He would teach me how to do things. My first journey was construction. And when I started with construction, I started learning through him. I started learning through a couple other people, how to fix walls, how to do kitchens, how to do bathrooms. The basic stuff is what I learned. Mind you, I'm working in the grocery store. I'm still going to school. I'm trying to strive to keep on going. Then I continued to work with him. And then as I fell in love with it, because in construction, you're never in the same place all the time. You're a month here, 3 weeks here, a month here, a week here, so you're always moving. So that gave me, how would I call it? Never being like a robot, you were always moving, you're always doing something. So that taught me to move around. As I went from him, then I went to an Italian guy that I met also, and I started working for him. But mind you, I'm still going to school. I utilize, the biggest thing also is utilizing your time. I didn't let time go by. So as I learned construction, that gave me the knowledge of also real estate. You know what I mean? And real estate was the love of me. I've always wanted to own property as I was learning. I remember I was 14 years old and I wanted to buy a lot. There was a lot for sale in Red Hook, where I'm at. And at that time, this neighborhood was really bad and poor. It was really destroyed. And I think the lot was about $5,000, $4,000. And nobody would listen to me. And this is one of the reasons why I'm coming out and I'm coming on to all these things to say, I want to give back to the young teenagers because a lot of them have a lot of vision. So not to get off track, I saw already that I learned that no one wanted to help me, but I had the desire and the strength within me to keep on going. So I learned more construction. So I had to wait until I was 18 years old to start my construction company. Because in New York City, in New York State, to open up a corporation, you must be at least 18 years old. So I had to wait. As the time is going by, I was working for a few people. Man, I was getting $35 a day, $50 a day. I was learning so much. I was more of not what I was getting paid. My knowledge was more of, can I get the knowledge from the person? And what can I learn from that person?
Wise
Money
young
don't
man.
mean shit. And can I say certain words?
Yeah. Fine. Mm-hmm.
Money don't mean shit. If you're trying to learn something, experience is priceless. These are priceless things. And if somebody's going to come to you and you got to work for nothing because it will pay off. I am so blessed that I didn't care if I was getting. I didn't care for the money. I cared for that guy teaching me. And I want to say, I only have a high school diploma. I only went to high school. Back in the 80s, Papa, olvídate. I no dinero, no hay nada. And I wasn't the smartest smart guy, straightforward. I was good. I was about I would say 75, 80 average. I wasn't the smartest guy, but I was the most common sense thing to say, wait a minute, that's no good. Wait a minute, I'm not doing that. Yeah. Wait a minute, that don't make sense. I'm not jumping off the bridge right away or jumping off the hill to jump in the water. No. I was always conservative to step back, right? So as I was going, I started my first company, which was H.L. General Contractors. That company, I had to wait until I was 18. It was January 6th or 8th, something like that. Back in 1982, 83, because you're gonna know how old I am, but it's all right. I started that company. I bought, then I was with a hand truck going to do handyman stuff. I was still working and then I still had the knowledge and I was doing handyman work, going to the neighbor, doing the painting the room, doing compound work, fixing windows, all these things that you start off with. And I used to work for nothing also. Again, I had to prove myself. I'm a Latino in a labor that is so hard. And, and I'm saying to myself, how do I, and mind you, there's no Google, there's no cell phone, there's no, I think afterwards it came out the beeper, you know what I mean? So technology is not there. It's a dictionary. It's a book that you got to go to the library or to the store to buy. How do you frame a wall? How do you hang a door? You know what I mean? And then, working for the people, it's so amazing looking back at it that the stepping stones, and it was the planning of not getting rich quick. You know what I mean? It was, okay, how do I do this? How do I better this, right? I got so many jobs as a handyman because once I did one thing for one person, it started, now the person recommended me. The other person recommended me. Before you know it, my name was worth so much as a word of mouth. Because at that time also was the yellow pages.
Yep.
You'd have to put yourself in the yellow pages, but you had to have the money. Mind you, I don't got money, man. I ain't got shit. I'm doing a job, I'm buying a tool. I'm doing another job, and mind you, there was no Home Depot, oíste. No Home Depot at the time. You know what I mean? You're going to the supply house. You got to have money or a credit card. I'm a young kid, man. I'm 19 now, right? I started hustling so much and learning so much that I wind up going to get a van at 18, 19, at that same year in January. Come March, April, I'm at an auction because back then they used to have an auction that you would buy the cars and vans. And there was a white van there with part of my name, HUM and B, and that was it. And then underneath it, it said roofing. I saved the picture of that. And that roofing, and let me tell you something, in the auction back then, there was always like a ghost, you know what I mean? Where they'll raise the price real quick, right? So I started off for $400. Remember, it was a Dodge van. And I started off for $400, $500. And then before you know, I turned around, mira, coño, ¿qué pasó? It was already at $1,000. What the oíste, papa, oí cordial. So I got it. I said, holy shit, I only had like $700 or $800 in my pocket, but my hand went up already. I gave a deposit. The guy said, listen, I know you ain't got all the money. No problem. I didn't even have money for the insurance. And I'm like, oh shit, how do I do this? The guy at the auction says, listen, give me the $300-$400. I'm going to give you a few days to come back, right? And then I said, but I got to get plates. I'm learning. I'm 19 years, I'm learning this thing, right? I don't know how to register a car, a van. So I go, the guy says, listen, go see the guy on 4th Avenue. There's a guy that can help you out, right? Some RNC something insurance, right? Man, the good thing was that I approach people in a different way. I approach them to help me and say, guide me. I don't know what I'm doing, but can you please guide me? Back then, you can trust the person to guide you because they knew already that they had a sense of, like, whatever I met with a lot of people, they had a sense I was for real. I was doing something, and I was doing something good. I wasn't selling drugs. I wasn't doing nothing bad. I was looking to do a business. And people admired that I was a young kid. Because a lot of people don't listen to 19-year-olds. I mean, back then, ¿qué carajo tú sabes? You know what I mean?
Even now.
That little thing of like, you don't really know much. You know what I mean? And the guy says, listen, go to 4th Avenue. There's a guy named Michael, I think his name was. He's going to help you out. And I had $125 in my pocket. That was left, right? And I still owe the money in the truck. And I went to the guy, and the guy says, listen, it's about $300-$400 back then. You know what I mean? And that was a lot of money. That's like $1,000, in today's time. You need $100-something. You need the motor vehicle. You need the plate, blah, blah, blah. He says, listen, I got about $125. He says, you know what? Give it to me. I'll lay it out. You sign the paper that you owe me the money, and I'll get you your plates and all. And I'll give you a few weeks to come back and pay me. That's the blessing of what I had of God helping me. I struggled so much that I cried at night sometimes because you don't know. I had no one to help me. I had no one to advise me. Just my gut feeling that I wanted to be successful. I wanted to make my father proud of me, and I wanted him to do this business. And not having no one to look up to, I cried at night. I swear to God, it was so hard to figure this out. You know what I mean? And then I take the truck, I get the plates. I was doing a little job already. I pay the guy at the truck. So I get my truck out, I get my plates. I happened to go to Brooklyn to finish that little job that I had, right? With my tools in my little truck already. And then all the tying guys coming down the block. I'm in the truck, and I shut the door, and he sees the roofing. He says, oh, isto cá, que fa? Eu faço roof. He's talking Italian, but I'm growing up in Italian and Irish, a mixed neighborhood. I learned languages. I said, isto cá. Yeah, I do the roof. Yes. So I go to this house around the corner. Mother of God, this roof was probably about 80 feet long. I gave him a price of $2,500. Back then, the dude said, the job is yours. You're a young guy. I want you to get the job. I had to find a helper because now you're 4 stories up. And these rolls are 100 pounds. And let's go. The guy was helping. That helped me such a blessing with that on that truck that I was able to get that money, pay that guy back, and go buy a sawzall and go buy another tool. And I had some money in my pocket that I can continue. Then I was able to take some of that money and buy the advertisement, right? So the construction, it was my gift and that talent that I had to make me now, a couple of years later, which is only probably 2 years later, I think I was about 20. I think it was around 20 years old, I bought my first piece of property down in Red Hook. Shocking a lot of people because a lot of people don't, again, it's so negativity, but you don't look at it that way. You need to be strength. The self-esteem that I have inside me, even to today, I mean, no importa de nadie. I don't give a shit. I don't have competition. I don't think of nobody but myself of how I can bring it up. So I look at this warehouse because now the construction company keeps on going, right? So I said, I need a warehouse. And make a long story short, I meet a guy in Red Hook, a friend of mine. He said, hey, listen, that guy, Vito, is selling a warehouse, right? So now I got a couple of $1,000s now saved, right? So I go and talk and I see, I said, wow, this can help me out, you know? But mind you, Red Hook is still the barrio. There's a bad
The hood.
slummy area. It's
Mhm.
shooting, stabbing, killing, you know, that's the normal. Normal. Oy, tirado este, hey, lo mataron. Oh, okay. I'm going this way. I stayed away from everybody, right? So I speak to the guy. At that point, I think I paid $135,000 for both of them back then. But I needed the location because sometimes real estate, you need to understand there's a need and a want, and is it necessary, right? The garage was a need for me because I need to put trucks. You know, I bought the truck and I had equipment. My company's growing, and you need to put your stuff somewhere because in New York City, you can't stay outside with this stuff.
Oh no, especially in Red Hook in that time.
Mi madre.
Olvídate. Mhm.
Vamos a meterle un par de bloques debajo. No hay goma. Te jodiste, you know? You come out, there's no car, you know, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
So talking to the man, and again is how I carried myself and said, listen, I don't got this money, but I can promise you that I can do something. And mind you, again, there's no banks that are looking. This is why I started learning about financing, because real estate is one part, but you need the back end. And the back end was the construction. That taught me a lot to how to look at a building. You know, I started meeting architects. I started meeting engineers. I started learning so much how to read blueprints, right? So when I went for these two properties, they were a mess. I mean, nothing good. You know what I mean? But it was a location for me. I was able to convince the owner to take, I think it was $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 down and hold the mortgage. So when he held the mortgage, and at that time, you got to remember this is already in the 80s, middle 80s and stuff. I think the interest rate was 12%, you know, because remember, I've faced already recessions. I've already faced a lot of these 3 times already, right? So this is where I'm Google. I'm the guy that can teach you the things the real way it happened. Because everything that I speak about is me doing it. Not some book that I did, is me passing through this experience to give your audience to understand, coño, I did this way, and this is how I did it. Not that I'm going to say it works for you, porque a veces eso no pasa. What works for me might not work for you. But the knowledge I'm giving you is at least an idea to open up doors to say, how do you open this door that's closed? This door's closed. How do I open it? How do I speak? How do I get my message across to see that I reverse it, that they can help me? And at a young kid, that's what I did with him. I showed him, I said, listen, I'm good for this. I can afford to pay you. My company's growing. I'm hiring more employees, but I need this help. There's no bank that's going to lend me money. Right? That. They didn't lend money that good for the good neighborhood. Imagínate over there, right? The guy said, listen, I'll take I had to get another couple of thousand. He says, I'll take that money you got. We'll do it a down payment. I'll hold the mortgage, and I'll hold the mortgage for 15 years with a 30-year amortization. So lower the payments, but it gave me a good breakout. You know what I mean? Again, I cried. I was blessed that at least this man understood what I was doing, understood that what I was trying to accomplish, right? And the whole idea of getting him to open up that door for me, now I have to look for a lawyer. Because now you need a lawyer, you know what I mean? And New York City is not just a title company. It's a lawyer.
It's a lawyer state. The whole state, it's a lawyer state.
Lawyer state. It's all lawyer. You know, maybe Buffalo might have title company. Because you're all the way up there in Buffalo and Binghamton, you might have a title company. But as a lawyer, I had to find somebody that can listen to me and do this. I found a friend of mine that recommends, hey, listen, there's a guy on Flatbush Avenue in Brooklyn. He'll probably help you out. He's an older fella. His name was Milton Weinstein. Hell of a man. I blessed him. He was so good to me. Again, I fell into someone after going to a few of them, and you listen to people. The whole idea of certain things in business, general, no matter what it is feeling the person, feeling the vibe that person's throwing out. Feeling if he's full of shit, plain English, if he's giving you this vibe that he's telling you so many things and it's not good. And now today we got Google. You can always find out what a person's lying to you. And that's the truth. This man guided me. He says, you need to have a corporation. You know what I mean? This type of business is a C Corp, right? So I started learning about corporations because again, you can't have a construction company and, have a construction company. So I did the construction company one. Then I did the real estate. I went back. He helped me out with the real estate. He did a mortgage. He did the closing, the whole thing, a title company, the research of the building. There's a lot that goes into it in New York City. We closed. I think my payments was about $700 a month in mortgage payments, which was perfect for me because at that time, mind you, you're still back in the 80s.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're on a high interest rate, but the normal interest rate back then, I think it was 15.
Yikes.
15%.
Yikes.
Papa,
Yikes.
12%, 15%, 8%, because the percentage was still at that time, and then the recession hit. I think it was in 87, 86, right around there.
Mhm.
And mind you, I'm still going. I was still buying property, but the construction slowed down. So that hurt me because that income was really what I generated to live off of and also pay and expand. You know what I mean? Buy and expand. I happened to buy another truck. That's when I learned what recession meant and what it meant to fall apart. And, back in that time, I had already purchased one of my first homes because that was a garage. And now I'm up to buying a 2-family house, a small little wooden frame 2-family house. And I'm buying this 2-family house. And it's again, I meet this gentleman. You search, you'll find. You look, you'll find.
That's what the Bible says. That's what the great book says. If you seek, ye shall find.
That's it.
If you
I don't have
knock, the door shall be open.
That's right. And I find things of my own theories of what I say that worked for me. I'm on this block. I'm doing work on this block for another lady, and I see this house. I look up and I see the windows all dirty. I see the front is dirty. I see, weeds growing. I said, what's up with this house? That's okay. And then I go back again 2 days later. I'm still working in the lady's house. And then I see, of course, a guy opening up the door and going to the house. And then I say, hey, listen, first I said, if you want to fix the house, because, I'm construction. He says, no, I want to sell the house. I said, okay. This might work out. You know what I mean? So I started talking to the gentleman, going back and forth with him. I says, can I take a look at it? A look at the house. I knew a little bit about construction already. I already started going up on the level of construction because there's different levels, right? So I was starting to go up in the construction part. So I walked in the door and I saw already it was a mess. So what we call that is a gut rehab, right? You got to gut the place and rehab the whole thing. So that's when I learned mathematically my mistake. There was unforeseen things. Mind you, I'm only got a couple of years of construction. You open up the door, you think, that's okay. She-Rock here, you put this, this, papa, olvídate. Termites, rats, roaches, everything rotten, plumbing rotten. I said, oh shit, this isn't over my head. So the blessing was that I was able to continue doing work. I met him again. I spoke to him. I said, listen, he was asking like 100,000 at the time. I said, listen, I can get you 75,000. But again, I would need you to hold a mortgage. I can't do this. There's no bank. Back then, there's no bank. And especially something that's vacant. You're not stabilized. There's no money coming in. And my company was doing okay, but I didn't have a good tax return because I'm still buying stuff. I'm still buying equipment. I'm still buying tools.
You're building your business. Yeah.
Listen, sometimes I had no money to even eat. This is the way it is. I just said, Coño, God, just give me the strength to wake up in the morning and let me keep on going to see how I can come out of this, and to give strength. That is the biggest thing in business is the strength within yourself and the self-esteem and just forward. This man winds up giving it to me at 75,000, I think it was, or 80,000 with about $10,000 down. And he held the mortgage.
Mhm.
He held the mortgage. At that time, we were starting to break down a little bit. And I think he held the mortgage at 8%, 7.5, 8. You know what I mean? So if I bought it at 80, if I'm not mistaken, I put 10. So I had a $70,000 mortgage. Because closing costs, again, I didn't predict for that. I didn't budget for that.
Mhm.
These are unforeseen things that you're not experienced with. I have no one I can turn to talk to. Because at that time, how do you say it? You know, the family, the friends that you think that you can get advice from, but then I learned that advice is not advice, it's an opinion. Papa,
That's
tú
right.
estás loco comprando una casa ahora. No, chico,
Mhm.
no, la gente te van a romper la ventana. They're gonna do this. It's just all the negativity.
Mhm.
All that I learned, the guy who I'm talking to had more fear than anything else to take a challenge and take that one step. So I learned earlier, you know, into this, so many years into it, I said, why am I listening to that guy? Why am I talking to him? Because I learned to say, oh, Papa, how many houses you got? No,
Ah,
what the
powerful.
hell?
You learned that early, brother.
Yeah, I'm like, ¿qué carajo que casa, boy? Yo pago la renta, que dejar el dueño que hace todo. He fixes everything. I don't fix nothing.
Mhm.
So I saw that mindset of where they're at and that cycle of where we're, you know, that they're in. And I said, wait a minute, that don't make no sense. How are you going to build something? You know, at the same time, I actually started looking at the Rockefellers, the Kennedys. They had magazines, you know, when you went to the store. Remember, mind you, you don't got no social media stuff.
No
right?
internet. Yeah.
No internet. Now in a little bit in the 90s, you got the magazines, you know what I mean, that were very popular and in the newspaper. And then I started learning about them and the books that they used to have, right?
Mhm.
I said, oh, how do you do it? You know, I read a little bit and then how these people develop wealth. It's a different thing of rich and another thing is wealth. How they started buying property, how they started renting it, right? And mind you, how you start doing that in the early ages that I want to not lose track of it is the wealth, right? So that was always in the back of my mind to learn about wealth, known to be rich, but also learning to be wealthy, right? So in that stage of the game is to be wealthy. So I'm learning. I go back to, as I'm doing this house. So let's go back to the first house I bought. It was a wreck. I learned to now, you know, as in the construction, I hired an architect. The architect did the drawings, the structure work, the foundation that I had to fix, the steel work. I am so blessed that I had other jobs going. Learning the construction that I learned and getting the architect, right? Doing all of that, getting that house. And that was my first house and my first wreck, train wreck. You know what I mean? It's just, okay, I learned this. Then I also was at the time, I stepped up in construction a little bit more because I learned about subcontractors. I'm not a plumber. I'm not an electrician. So I'm learning all of this. You got to get a licensed plumber. You get a licensed a licensed electrician. I stepped up where I got to get a permit. So I wind up going to school in the sense of the sector of not, it's like a trade where you have to learn in the city of New York, you have to have requirements, which are still there. So I started getting my GC license, my home improvement license, you know, because I want to be legit. So luckily I had all that stuff and I was able to get a permit, a construction permit for the building. Then I wound up getting the plumber, the electrician. And mind you, I still have work going and then I'm dumping everything in there, I was able to renovate the top floor first because I figured, let me get the top floor first. Let me draw income. And at that time, I wound up renting that apartment for $1,000 because it was down by the train. I did a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment with a little balcony in the back, total renovation. And what I did back then, I learned through the plumber. He said, listen, let's put a separate unit for heating and hot water and cooking gas for them separate. Let them pay that bill. Again, advice that was advice, not an opinion. I said, Papa, let's do it. Because yeah, but you're going to spend an extra $5,000, $4,000. I said, no, it's okay. It's an investment.
Makes
now
sense.
I don't have that bill anymore.
Yeah.
You want heat? Better. Put that up. As much as you want to work in 80 degrees, 75, I ain't paying for it, so I ain't got no problem. That learning experience was such a blessing because when I rented that out and then we finished downstairs, I rented that out. It was a duplex, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom duplex, 2 baths, wash and dryer. I hooked that place up. And I have a model in my way of renting apartments, and I have hundreds of apartments everywhere, right? If I cannot live in it, I'm not renting it. If it's a shit box, no, don't rent it. Leave it alone. Because you're gonna have a problem to get the rent. That person's gonna move in, and 3 months from now, he's the worst. And he'll have the rights to a lot of things because you do have it a mess. So I learned from that. I fixed the place up good. I think I was getting the downstairs, it was about probably $1,500, $1,600 a month. And what I did was I rented it to college guys, roommates, because a family at that time couldn't really afford it. But roommates that were together and they were in college further down in downtown Brooklyn, I rented it to 3 of them, or 4 roommates, which was separate bedrooms. I think I got $1,600 at the time. And I got 1,000 upstairs, right? So there was about $2,600, $2,700 a month. But again, I didn't have the overhead of the heat.
It's an amazing return at a $75,000 purchase price. That's a crazy return.
Yeah. And this is back then.
This is in the 80s.
Then already. Then think of this. Then I stabilized it. And then I went to the bank and I remortgaged it.
So you did the BRRRR strategy when it didn't even exist.
It didn't exist. and I went to what I call the bank. I used to call it the Jewish mob because this bank was Greenpoint. They don't exist anymore.
Yeah, I remember Greenpoint Bank.
Yeah, Greenpoint Bank. They were the
I
mob.
remember them. Yeah.
Yo tenía eso cerrado. Listen, a point for this, you pay me this, you pay me that. It's okay. Don't worry. Here's your mortgage, right? No problem. I got in good with them. You know what I mean? And the strength of Whitney to keep on going, and this is where the beginning started. I'm telling you the beginning. And when Greenpoint said no problem, mind you, it was a cash flow and what my business was doing. And that was the blessing. I was able to pay the balance of the mortgage because it was still early. It was less than 15 years. I paid him off. I stabilized everything. And I had a little couple of dollars. I had about $600 a month, $700 a month from my pocket after everything, which was a blessing because I wasn't even thinking I was going to get that. And that was the beginning. So now I got my bills getting paid there. I'm getting about $600-$700. Then it went to $800. You know, today I get $11,000 a month, and I got no mortgage on it.
On the same property.
Same property. That is.
You still own it. Amazing.
These are sentimental things to me. That if God gave me that opportunity to buy that, and now I got no mortgage because at that time the rents kept on escalating. And this
escalating,
is what I don't understand. Sometimes you got to do things and think of what's the future.
The future.
Flip something, then you think one way. If you're going to build wealth and you're going to build strength in a portfolio, you don't sell. You need to know what to sell and what not to sell because a portfolio is something long term. Banks right now, today, if you don't have a stabilized portfolio, they're not going to be interested with you too much. You're going to be at a high risk for them. So that means you're not getting 70% or 65% of value. You're going to get 55%. They're not going to be giving out money. You know, the time today, I won't talk about what's going on today, but
I want to touch on that with you a little bit. I want to get your,
what's going on with that.
I want to get your insights on that. First of all, you gave us such an amazing story. But I want to bring it to today, right? Now you got all of these years of experience. You got 40 years of experience. Now you're a big developer, the biggest developer in Red Hook, Brooklyn up there. And by the way, thank you for giving back to the community. I grew up in New York City, Washington Heights, and I'm grateful to guys like you that are giving back to our communities and still there and still. And I'm glad that you're here, and that my hopes is that young men and women in those communities are listening to this podcast so that they can get inspired and see that with hard work, determination, mindset, grit, they can get to where you are. So I want to thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that from the mi corazón, bottom of my heart. First of all, what was your biggest lesson going through that? You was a young guy, so you really didn't know. I mean, you experienced your first recession. You was in real estate, your first deal. What was the biggest lesson now as a mature investor, a big developer, right? Doing big things in New York City. And what advice would you give to yourself today, knowing what you know, to the 21, 22-year-old version of you?
Well, let's go backwards. Because part of that recession, I had a few buildings that I owned at that time, and I had them empty. And I didn't have no income coming in. What I learned was never extend your arm too long, never expand too far. Stick within your means. Because what I had at that time that other recession that came afterwards was I had a few properties and I had no income whatsoever because the construction company was coming in, bringing money in. And I had a few properties that I was bringing in, but I had too many I bought in the sense of that they were vacant, right? I extended myself so far that I could have destroyed myself in the sense of go to nothing because they would have taken them back because I couldn't pay the mortgage. I put a strategy together and I cried to say, how did I do this? So to answer your question, I will not do that today. Where we're in right now, the math is the biggest thing for me. I don't care what it is because in New York City is one of the most lousiest states to be in to invest in right now and buy. And I say it with my heart because there's so much things that are against you in New York City and New York State with the politicians that we have and the way they think that landlords are no good and they're bad. And, you know, that they don't understand that this is two-part to it. You know, I won't get into it because everyone thinks that the rents went up and you know what?
No, we're familiar. We're familiar with what's happening in New York and California. New York is a brutal state to buy, man. It's a brutal.
I told people in some of the things, don't even think. They come to me because, you know, I have a large real estate company also, and they come to me. I said, no. Some people come to me to sell their big buildings, you know, the 50 to 100 unit buildings. No, Papa, I won't even list it for you. I won't even put it on my listing, my brokers, or my salespeople that I have. Why? Because what I've learned in the past, it's a cycle. It repeats itself, right? And the cycle is very vicious and bad, and it has no mercy on no one. I don't care who the hell you are, you will get chewed up and eaten up. So a lot of stuff is a gut feeling, right? Here now, in the bigger buildings that we own, remember, I'm a different level of real estate, right?
Yes, sir.
The big buildings that we own, I'm governed. I can't raise your rent. I can't say, hey, and this year in July, this lovely mayor of us did not tell nobody he raised the property taxes. A lot of my property tax went up 13%, 15%.
Holy smokes, 18%. Man. Whoa.
I got property tax. Some of my buildings are $250,000 a year just on property tax. I got property tax that's $400,000, right? So you raise me 13%.
That's a lot, man.
A lot of money that you raised me.
13% is a lot.
And now, olvídate. And now, how do I do? And I'm a little loud about this because it's so upsetting to me.
Yeah, I
what
got
do
it.
I do? I pass it on to the tenants. They're commercial industrial tenants.
They got to pay for it. Someone pays for it. And it ain't you. It ain't me. It's got to be the tenant because it's a business we're running. So
it's so sad. Later on in time, when I have some more time on it, you know, I will go into the political world to see you reverse that. But getting back to your question, because I don't want to get off track, the whole idea of now, we are going into the recession, right? Everybody's saying it's recession, this and that, but a lot of money is being spent, right? Which is okay, but I'll only speak about this state. This state, most of those big buildings, I don't recommend for people to buy them because they got locked in the rent. That's it. The rent is, I got free market apartments. And, you know, one of my videos, you'll see, I spent $70,000 in my construction money from my company to do the apartments, right? One big 20 family, right? Today, if I had that same building today, the rent guidelines is $15,000 to give you $35. $15,000 renovation, which you know very well, it's only your bathroom, right?
Yeah.
So mind you, you got an old house, an old big apartment building. You spend $15,000 to renovate, and I give you, the city gives you $35 a month increase.
That is a joke. You can't make money. You can't run a profitable business with those numbers. They just don't work.
No. And on top of that, he raised the property taxes. And what else did we get? The oil price. We're at $5 a gallon. Diesel is $7 a gallon. That property cost me $40,000 to eat. When 2 years ago was $20,000, $15,000, $18,000, right? We were $2-3 a gallon. So these are the overheads. These are the things that at a certain small scale, I advise a lot of people, get yourself a 2-family, a 3-family. If you're in New York, five family and under. Do not
Mhm.
get to 6. It's the next level. If you're ready for it, you got a good deal, you got a good mortgage on it. Yes. And the biggest thing, do you have the experience for it? You have to have a little bit of experience on it to know how to get to that property. So your question number one, no, I stand back. Cash is king. I don't give a shit who says anything. Whoever these other guys that say no, don't have cash. No, 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 no. You need money in your pocket for that great deal to come up to buy. You need money in your pocket for when that tenant moves out. How you cover that?
Mhm.
Mind you, it's only a 3-family. How you cover the spread? There's a lot of things that
Mhm.
come into the mathematic world. Your heating costs are going up, right? So question one, what I learned in the past, when the 2008 came, I bought maybe 15 properties, 10 of them alone in Florida, because I
Mhm.
also have my office in Florida. I have an office there, and I do the same thing in Florida. I bought, I think, 10 in Florida, and I think I bought 4 here in New York. So yeah, cash means a lot. I'm buying this stuff at a discount rate. I'm
Mhm.
buying it at 50 cents out of the dollar. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I've built my portfolio bigger. So the way of doing things is understanding how you move on the rents, you move on certain things. And yes, the interest rate goes up, the value of the property goes down.
What are you seeing all of these years of experience that you have, Humberto, in construction and real estate, doing it successfully in New York? Man, my hat goes off to you, brother. Salute you for that. Because holy smoke, I was just talking to my mom yesterday. Um, she called me and we were on the phone, and I said, we were talking about the rent in New York and all of that. And I said, Ma, no me pueden dar un edificio in New York and me buy it. I said, me lo regalan y no lo cojo, right? I won't take it, right? You give it to me just because your rules in New York are so difficult. I evict a tenant here in Pennsylvania, a non-paying, of course. No one likes to evict people. I come from poverty too. We both grew up in tough neighborhoods, poor. And no one, when I have to evict someone, I just think of, my family, my people, right? What I went through. And I'm like, shit, it's painful to do this. However, it's irresponsible for someone not to take care of their rents. And I'm running a business, like you said, right?
Right.
And I said, Ma, you can't give me, because she was telling me how they increased her rent. And I'm like, Ma, they increased your rent, but you realize they only increased it 1%. When I put it in that perspective, she was like,
That's
they
right.
can't do this and they can't do that. And they increased this one's rent. I said, Ma, give me the numbers. And when I did the numbers, I said, Ma, it's 1.5%. You realize it's not a lot of money. You realize that gas is going up. You realize taxes going up. You realize that you realize what gasoline costs. You realize this, right? And it put it in perspective for her, right? I pay for my mother's rent. I take care of my mom. My mom,
Yes,
I'm
yes.
blessed today, gracias a Dios, that
Mhm.
I'm able to do that for mom. And she was kind of complaining about that to me. And I was putting it right. I can't take it, right? So I salute you for that, for doing business in New York. Because man, it's a tough state to do business, and it's not an investor-friendly state. It's not a business owner-friendly state. And I'm from New York, and it's like, hey, man, I'm not gonna go play there. I'm not gonna go play there. What do you see in this coming recession? How bad do you see it for real estate? What are you doing to prepare? And what advice would you give someone like myself, that's a bit, not in where you are, but I'm on the journey to get to developing and things like that? Or what advice would you give to someone that's listening that maybe hasn't done their first deal?
There's never a right or bad time, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just how you put the plan together of what you're buying, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you're buying a 1 to 2 or 3 family, and it's going to be a flip is one thing. If you're going to buy and hold is another thing. So if you're starting your portfolio, I would suggest that, listen, buy a 2 or 3 family, because look what it is. 20 something years later, 25 years later, I even forgot the number. A lot of my properties, the small ones that I bought back then, I have no mortgages on none of them. And I will not remortgage them because I've already done that. And now it's time for it to give back to me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of my portfolio, mind you, I own 4 square blocks in New York City. And I just bought another block on 4th Avenue in Brooklyn.
Beautiful. I love it.
I'm talking about, you can walk from one corner down the block, around to the next corner, up the block, and back around the other corner. Right?
It's all yours, brother.
It's all mine.
Love it. Love it. Absolutely love it. In New York City.
In New York City.
Love
and
it.
Just last year, I just did another deal on 4th Avenue on 25th Street, and I bought the whole block except for one little building that Chinito no quería vender. He didn't want to sell. I said, it's okay. Don't worry about it. So I'm buying from 24th Street to 25th Street, the whole entire block, all 7 pieces of property, and going down the block. But the answer to that's a big scale. You know what I mean? That's $20 million. You know what I mean? It's a different scale of things. But I'm going back to the little things, right? Understand that most of these things are done by mathematics and taxes. You see, a lot of things that people fail on is going backwards on the soft costs. Let's call it soft costs. What's your soft cost? Your property tax, your water and sewer, your insurance. People forget about insurance. That's sometimes $5,000, $20,000. I got insurance at $50,000 a year. Some of my buildings, right? So if you don't figure that equation in there, it's going to eat from your rent and your cost. But if I'm buying a home, I'm a first-time guy, and it's not for me to live in, because this is where the confusion goes.
An investment, yes, an investment.
Let's talk about that. I want a 3-family. Most of the stuff I would look for, but again, it depends on my pocket. You know, a 2-family or a 3-family. But to me, a 3-family, somebody moves out, the other 2 covers you. You understand? You learn. You know, you got 3 incomes. It's easy to get a mortgage. It's easy to sell. Because if the shit hits the fan and you can't handle it, what could you do with it? You sell it. And you sell it for a gain. You know what I mean? And you move to the next one and see all the mistakes you've made. But most of the time I tell people, get yourself a 3-family. You know what I mean? Where you're going to rent them out. Even in Florida, even in Jersey, get yourself something that has multiple incomes out of it, right? Some of them have a retail store, you know what I mean? Which is still good. That's a different level of real estate. Different levels. Construction and real estate, there's all different levels, right? So in that sense, I tell people why. You're going to be easy to remortgage it. You'll get qualified quicker because they're basing it upon the income of the building.
Income-based approach, yes.
You got the money coming in. What's your expenses? You know what I'm saying? You're going to do the maintenance to the place. You're going to do the little stuff, the cleaning. You know what I mean? You got Google to show you how to fix a toilet. You know what I mean? You got Home Depot to help you. Stuff I didn't have, right? So that's going to help you with the soft cost of running that building. But when you look at a building, one is to see the condition of the building, because I've learned that from the hard way. I bought a building, I saw the door, I went inside, I took everything okay, y pa carajo lo compré. No, that was a nightmare. So learn the building. If it's a wooden frame, you better get the termite guy in there. You better get all your house inspections. Don't waive your rights to that, because you know what you're buying, it could be a nightmare, right? So you look at that and look at the soft cost, what's going to cost you. And then most of the time I recommend people to start an LLC. If you're in New York City and some of these other states, start an LLC. Protect yourself, protect your asset, right? They put it in there. Don't deed it to your name. Put it in the LLC. It's easy to control, and it's all the deductions you get. You know what I'm saying? Then putting in your personal name. God forbid something happens. Somebody gets hurt in that building. Anything happens, it's separate. It's not in your name.
They can't go after you personally.
Especially in New York City.
Yeah, Humberto, another question for you. Last and final question. What do you project is going to happen in this recession? Some are saying worse than 08. Some are saying depression. Some are saying nothing's going to happen. I mean, you're a man with a lot of experience, many years of doing this, having been around the block a few times. You're a math guy, a numbers guy, because you've mentioned it a couple of times here in this interview, the numbers are numbers and numbers and numbers. Live and die by the numbers. What do you project in your professional, your crystal ball, right? What do you see in this upcoming recession, correction, whatever you may want to call it?
I think I've been through 3 of them. The first 1.5 killed me. The one in 2008, I knew already what to do. So I'm ready again to be ready. Cash came, right? But here's what could happen 2 ways. I'm watching I'm watching the stock market a little bit to know what goes on there, because that dictates everything.
Absolutely.
That dictates the most. And why people don't understand this, let me clearly clarify what I look at. I look at the stock market because if everybody's losing their money there, that means people are going to get unemployed. That means they can't pay their rent. You got to watch that domino effect.
That's
You
right.
get that domino effect, te jodiste.
That's right.
If you look at it the other way, if the interest rate stays where it's at right now, and it goes up maybe another 25 basis point, if we start to see, because a lot of banks right now, not that I do business with, they're at 6.5,
Mhm.
six,
Mhm.
almost 7, right? If you go up and the Fed raises that interest rate and they go up to 4, 5, and this side, the bank's got to make money, then this side is 8, 9, we got a major problem. Major problem. Hold your money. Watch what you're doing. Because you have to wait for that to go up. When interest rate goes up, prices drop down.
Prices going down, sir.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you got to wait. Don't be in a rush to get screwed. Don't be in a rush to lose your money. Because then you'll have to wait 4 or 5 years for that cycle to come back up for you to bail out.
For you to get out, yeah.
Get your money back. So don't do it that way. It's a mathematic thing. Again, I say it. Interest rates keep on going up, keep on going up. Wait. You got to wait now, then the price drops. Because remember, the income that's coming in has to now cover that spread. So, and then the value, because personally, I went to remortgage a couple of my buildings and I had already locked in rates and I was blessed. But now if I go to remortgage something right now, I'm at 4 3/4, 5%, even at my level. But, okay. So the other guy is not going to be at that level. It's going to be in a higher rate, right?
Mhm.
But if you watch the pricing, interest keeps on going up, step back for a minute. Let that hit to the peak, right? Watch the prices of the real estate go down because they have to mathematically match. The
Mhm.
value goes down on it, right? Then I would say buy. Stop, keep on, but never stop looking. Never stop looking. If you're looking, do not stop. You will know that, oh shit, that guy's in trouble. Because the guy who bought it and had a lot of things that are going to come are the guys that have adjustable rates. They
That's
gotta bail
right.
out. Back in
That's right.
2006, that's what happened. You had these adjustable rates. You had this Mickey Mouse freaking mortgages that I don't want to curse, that you had 70% on this one and 35% on this way, and you left the closing, especially in Florida, with a check, right? So
Yep.
now you're at 110% finance.
LTV, yeah.
Your adjustable rate pops to 8, te jodiste.
Brother, pero ¿cómo la gente no se dieron cuenta? How did people not freaking, like, that's common sense. You know, I'm like you. I didn't go to college. I don't have a college degree. I'm a real common sense guy, just like to process it. Like, hey, I used to be by the way, I was the mortgage guy back then. And I remember telling my team, like, hey guys, like, we're giving a $300,000 loan to someone that's making $40,000 a year. This is not sustainable long term. Like, I knew it, but I was too young and I was too immature. I was making a lot of money and I made my mistakes there, that it was like I wasn't thinking future and I wasn't thinking, okay, how do I prepare? I didn't know what you're sharing right now. I didn't know, like, hey, this domino effect is going to be opportunities. I made so much money and I spent all that money and, you know, made those mistakes. And this time around, I'm heeding to what you're saying because I'm thinking along the same way. When do you know that the interest rates peaked? Because you said that a couple of times. Wait until that thing is, don't stop looking, but wait until that thing is at its peak and then go buy.
Well, it's the reverse. So when the peaks is up, right? You got to look at the stock market. You got to look at the Fed. The Fed comes out, he starts talking, listen to the words.
Yep.
He will say certain things that he's going to say, you're screwed.
Yeah.
This shit is going to keep on going up. It's a certain way he speaks to everybody, right?
Yeah.
When he's there announcing what's going on, he's saying the next 6 months, the next year,
Yeah.
right? 2023, we're going to do this. We have to bring another point, another 25 basis point. Listen, I don't know shit. I play dumb. Let me listen. Teach me. Because that guy is the one that's running the United States right now, right?
I'm gonna tell you something I learned the other day from him, because I sat there and I watched an interview that he in the Wall Street Journal on YouTube. And I learned something and I want to share it with the listeners, and you probably know this. The best indication of what the Feds, he's talking about himself, about
That's
what
right.
the Feds are going to do with interest rate, is watch what the 2-year Treasury is doing. He says, if the 2-year Treasury is trending up, that means that we are most likely going to increase the interest rates. If the 2-year Treasury, I was like, holy shit, like, That's
Yeah.
awesome information for me.
Yep.
And just yesterday in my financial newsletter, there was a whole article on the 2-year treasury talking about how the 2-year treasury is trending up. And then today, the interest rates, the 10-year treasury, which you know is what dictates the 30-year mortgage,
Mhm.
is the highest it's been this year. It's at 3.124 or something like that. So if you try to lock in a rate today, as we record this podcast, that interest rate is through the roof. So yeah, the 2-year treasury, something I want to just share with the listeners. Watch the 2-year, as per Jerome Powell, not me. I'm just learning. I'm like
Right.
you. I'm just learning, listening to this guy because I'm a little guy just trying to. I'm just a little guy playing the game, and I got to model what the big guys are doing and what they're saying. So
You know why he
even
said
guys
that,
like
though?
you, listening to you and learning from you, right?
And there's a reason why he said that, right? What do you think the
Okay.
reason is?
Warning us, pay attention.
It's also the term that the president's in now. He's out when?
And in 2 years.
2 years. Wait then. In 2 years, he's out. So they can only do the job up until 2 years from now. Then a whole new administration is coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a whole different story that's coming up. So whoever
Yeah.
becomes the president in 2 years from now, whoever it might be, because I'm not going to get into political shit,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? They take over. So they'll
Yeah.
know how they're going to destroy or bring this back up.
Yeah.
So he can only predict for the next 2 years because the administration can only control for the next 2 years.
2 years. That makes a lot of sense what you're saying.
You
Yeah.
understand? This administration, before you know it, when they're going into their third and they're going to be going into their fourth term, they start to lose power for what they do.
Mhm.
But in 2 years from now, we'll have a new president. I'm guaranteeing you. This
Hopefully.
man's gonna be in it.
Hopefully, I'm gonna say it publicly. I hope so because this guy's not good for business.
No,
He's not good for business. He's not good for in my humble opinion, this particular, and it's not about party, just the individual's policies. This individual's policies has not, in my opinion, been good for inflation, for business, for the working class. I just don't think he's been good for our country. That's my opinion. We could still be friends. It's just an opinion. I'm
That's
not
it.
100% right, and everything I say, I'm often wrong. It's just my thought on it. My friend, thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad. How can people get a hold of you? How can they connect with you? Where can people find you? I know that you're doing some things on social media. I'm looking to do some things with you in the future, right? Two Latinos working together and you're just doing some things. So
I just started because I was supposed to write a book, and one of my sons told me, "Hey, Papa, forget about the book. You got to go to social media." So under Humberto Lopes, my name, Lopes, because then it's not a Z. So under Humberto Lopes, you will find me on all the platforms. H.L. Dynasty is the real estate company that I have. So you'll have YouTube, Humberto Lopes, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the, I'm learning social media. It's amazing how I'm learning how this operates and how people have Bugattis and, $100,000 watch, but we'll talk about that some other time. Those are the fools, right? But my social platform now is growing. I have a bunch of YouTube videos out already that I teach already real estate. I started with the little stuff. You can find me on YouTube under Humberto, Humberto. My name is with an O at the end, Humberto. And then my last name is Lopes, not a Z. You will not find me. So when you look for that on all the social platforms, you'll find me. You'll see that also, they'll jump to each one, I guess, right? My thing that I'm going to do now, and I've been so successful, I've been so blessed. So it's time for me to continue on what I want to do, is to reach out to a lot of young Latinos and the adults. We have this mindset of, oh, no, esto va a coger muchos años. Well, no, you're going to spend 3 years in college or 5 years in college. You close the doors too fast. You know what I mean? So I'm going to have different videos on that to open up the people's mind. And I want to start with the 12-year-old, the 13-year-old, that he can open up his eyes and his minds now. You know what I mean? And then go to the adults, because the apple don't fall far from the tree. I have so much that I've done in life that I have success already that I've done. So whatever I say is, I already own it. I own it already. I've done it already. watch what I say on certain things. Before I have it, I won't talk about it. I'll wait until I have it. It's just my own sense of things. I have videos on that, where I call it snakes in the grass, where tú hablas mucho, y la persona que tú estás hablando te jodiste. He does something, he twists it. There's a story on that there too. But I've already started my social platforms. I would love for people to come in, give me suggestions, email me in the social platforms that I have. I reach out to a lot of people. I'm humble. I know what it is not to eat. So as wealthy as I am, I'm very wealthy. I'm very blessed. There's shit that I have that people are just shocked. I'm low key. I'm not the guy that you'll see flashing everything and, driving a Maserati or Bugatti or coming off a helicopter. That's okay. I don't need that. Not that I can't have it, but I want to teach people that that's a fantasy sometimes. You know what I mean? Don't look at that. Let's look at the stepping stones. So I want to educate people a lot, especially the Latino community. I just feel that, coño, where are we? Where are you at? Where are you not listening? And then I realize now, and this is why I was glad to meet you also. I was very appreciative of it. It's because we don't have role models. We're looking at role models that are, coño, who are you looking at that guy? He's a singer. He's an actor. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever. I respect everybody, right? And I'm humble to everybody. But let's go with actual advice, actual person. I am the Puerto Rican Warren Buffett. That's the way I look at it. People already said that to me.
I love it. I love it.
I'm the Puerto Rican Warren Buffett. Olvídate. I'm not, no me la estoy echando and saying that this is it. No, I got shit to back it up. That's the beauty. Whatever I'm doing, I'll show you the backup. I'll walk you to the buildings. And then you young guys can Google it. Who owns that property? You'll see a corporation name, because I don't have nothing in my name. Everything's corporations because I protect myself. I ain't stupid. Soy pendejo. You know what I mean? I ain't letting nobody snake come in and take anything from me, right? So I have so much to give and so much, energy, the positive vibe that I'm going to give to my Latinos. They're going to wake up when I talk to them. They're going to realize, coño, let's go. Let's do this. Let's sell sneakers. Let's open the bodega back up. You know what I mean? Let's open up a ophthalmology. Let's go to school for this, to lift everybody up, to say, bro, we can do this more than any other nationality. We have a blessing that we have the ability to do so much. We can borrow money in so many ways. You know what I mean? But we don't take that advantage. We don't take those opportunities. We have so much opportunities out there that is sad. So yeah, I'm going to wake people up. That's what my job is right now. God's given me to say, wake these people up. Let's get them up. Let's lift them up. Let's go forward. And that's what it is. But you can follow me on my social media. Trust me, you need advice. Remember that word, not opinion. Advice. I'm going to give you advice. And if I don't know it, I will not tell you because I don't know it. And I would tell you I don't know it. So questions from a one family to a mini skyscraper, mini high rise, talk to me. Because I'm going to the skyscraper now. I'm going to the bigger building. Yeah. But everything below that, I'm here for everybody.
When winter's here and things are really hard and people are, because it's coming, right? I think
Yeah. The storm is coming.
Yeah, the storm is coming.
And I teach people, the little method that I say to people is, listen, when there's a storm out there and it's a blizzard, not a storm, a blizzard, right? Do you go outside?
Negative. No.
So stay back and hold up. That's money. It's a blizzard coming, right? Know when to spend the money. Know when to invest. And that's what I want to teach people. That when that storm and that blizzard passes, wow, look what I got to show for it.
Yeah.
Look what I did. And I'm talking about not me. I'm referring to the people.
Yeah.
Because they'll have the knowledge that I've had to know how to hold on.
Claro.
Now we do this. Now we do that. Now we do that.
I
Baby steps. Crawl, walk, run.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, my friend. It's been a pleasure. Guys, you've been listening and watching to Latinos in Real Estate Investing podcast. Guys, take heed to what this man just said. Everything he said is he just gave it. Not only did he give it to you, but he gave it to you from the heart. He's real. He's sincere. I can tell. I feel it, right? I feel it in this interview. You're going to be watching this after it's recorded, and you may be watching this in the future, but this is a genuine person A lot like him, where I vibe people and energy. And he mentioned that a little bit ago. Next time I have him on, I'm going to have him back on here and we're going to talk about mindset. That's a whole other conversation. And I want to have that conversation with him. So guys, thank you again for watching, listening. Really, really appreciate you guys. And we'll see you guys soon. Humberto, gracias, hermano. So guys, if you like this video you just watched, click on this video up here. It might be something you might like. And guys, I really appreciate you guys watching. Remember to like and subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Peace out.